Dang, you can't really see me. Hey, I hope that you are doing wonderful. I do apologize, that I'm going to be sending to you this reading late. I could have waited till the morning to get it done, for sure. And yeah, if you want me to redo it, I definitely don't mind. I'll do it for you. But I've been working on preparing the notes for your reading, and I'm pretty much done with that. I'm actually walking home from work right now, so I've been at work all day. And yeah, I told you that to expect the reading by Tuesday, so I wanted to get it done for you by any means necessary. Hey, you can see my face a little bit. But yeah, so what we are going to be doing in this session is I am going to be helping you gain a better awareness of your personality, but simultaneously your life purpose. So I feel it's important, well, before we get into your North Node, because your North Node is what primarily helps us gain awareness and, understanding of your life purpose energies. So your North Node is in Cancer, right? Hey, you can see my face now, for sure, temporarily. And so Cancer is the familial sign, It deals with family and it deals with home. So in this life, you're meant to learn to be more, I wonder if I'm going the right way. I hope so. You're meant to learn to be more inclusive. And I apologize if you hear the background noise. I gotta go back this way. So in this lifetime, you're meant to be more inclusive, and you're meant to learn okay. So you're meant to be, as I was saying, be more inclusive.
Turn right toward North Ashton Boulevard.
I don't know if you hear the sounds from... Yeah, I don't mind redoing this for you if you feel like there's too much distractions. I'd love to do it. I love doing readings twice also, because it gives the advantage of already having done
Turn right toward North Ashton Boulevard.
Already having done it once. The second time around, I'll have a bit clearer, awareness of what I'm talking about. But anyways, yeah, North Node in Cancer in your 10th house, which is simply an indication that in this life, you're meant to embrace familial values. You're meant to open up emotionally and embrace emotional connections. You see, the thing is, you are more comfortable and you're more used to relying on your own independence as you do things, relying on logic and rationality and concreteness.
Turn left toward North Ashton Boulevard.
And so I'm referencing your South Node, which is in Capricorn. See, the way that the North and the South Node work is your North Node deals with... I'll also say this too. I've never ever done a reading like this, right? Where I'm walking in the middle of the night in my neighborhood. But I will say this. Every reading I've done, I feel like everything, from the background.
Turn right onto North Ashton Boulevard.
To the experiences And I don't know if you hear them. I think you probably do. I don't know if you hear my navigation system in the background. Like all of these things
Turn left toward North Ashton Boulevard.
should be read into, you know what I'm saying? And you should most definitely embrace them as aspects and pieces to your reading. For example, I have an hour walk, you know, so I'm gonna be walking for a whole hour. And I'll say this to you: Gemini rules travel, you know what I'm saying? It rules short travels in the neighborhood, you know? Gemini also rules your neighborhood, it rules your neighbors, it rules your friends, it rules your siblings, and in general, those who you are acquainted with.
Turn right onto North Ashton Boulevard.
Simply because they are...
Turn right toward North Ashton Boulevard.
Simply because they are in your immediate environment. So typically Gemini becomes friends with people because, yeah, they're in their immediate environment. So it's important for you to be aware of this, because one thing with Gemini is they can find themselves falling in the wrong crowds simply because the convenience of companionship and, you know, the reliability of having companionship with those nearest to you. Simultaneously, the thing about Gemini is a sign that's very adaptable, very flexible, meaning we can pretty much be friends with anyone and everyone. And as a Gemini, you know, it's important for you to not associate with people for the sake of association and for the sake of friendliness, but realizing that birds of a feather flocking together is very much a real thing. So, yeah, I'm now in the darkness once again, so you probably are not going to see my face. But yeah, so I kind of started talking about Gemini to synchronize it with your chart. Gemini deals with transportation. You know, Gemini is signified by, like in mythology, Gemini correlates to thoughts. Specifically, I want to bring up Hermes and Mercury, right? Mercury is actually the planet in astrology that rules Gemini. And when you think of Mercury, you want to remember that Mercury and Hermes were both depicted with wings on their feet, you know? And this is because they deal with speed, you know? And this is because Gemini rules the thought, you know? Gemini's key phrase is, I think, you know? And when it comes to our thoughts, there's pretty much nothing faster than thought, you know? Light in of itself is nothing more or less but information. When you think about it, the way our eyes work is they receive light, which is nothing more or less but a vibration. And then that vibration is interpreted, you know, of course, according to its its vibration, its frequency or velocity, meaning how fast or how frequently it's vibrating. And that dictates if it's a light color or a dark color, you know. So it's important to understand that light and thought are synonymous. But I also say this to you: you were born near the time of the summer solstice, meaning that around this time the days are the longest, meaning on Earth we experience the most light around this time. Astrologically, this is around the time when the energies of Gemini and the energies of Cancer prevail, you know what I'm saying? Because around Gemini 22nd, 23rd. You're born on the 18th, I think it was. I'm so sorry. I'm so wrong. You're born on May 28th, around that time. So you're an early degree Gemini, not late degree Gemini. But regardless, it's still relevant to you to understand that around Gemini Cancer season, this is the time when, give me a sec. This is the time when the lights are the most prominent, meaning that our capacity of emotions, which is Cancer energy, and our capacity for thought, logic, rationality, are our gateway into the light, or into the higher planes, or into heaven, you know? So pretty much your ability to manage your thoughts and your emotions is really going to dictate how far you get spiritually. And our spiritual travels are essential because nothing else matters, because the physical is temporary. Even astral experiences / mental experiences are temporary. But our ability to attain spiritual immortality depends on our spiritual practices and our spiritual consciousness. Meaning that when you make it a practice and a habit to strive for higher thoughts and higher emotions, then you are like equipping yourself with spiritual substance. And that spiritual substance is what's responsible for building and creating your spiritual body or your spiritual vessel. It's like, as you look around you, I'm outside, so, I'm closer to nature. And as I look around me, every single thing, like these plants, etc., they are all life forms. It's a scientific understanding, for instance. A scientific understanding that even minerals, yes, minerals, you know what I'm saying, have, although a general basic, okay, dang, I'm gonna need to definitely avoid that path, because I just got all my shoes muddy and whatnot. But anyways, as I was saying, yeah, so there's like this scientist. He's like an Indian scientist. Well, he's like an Indian scientist, you know what I'm saying? And I'm so sorry. Anyways, he proved that even minerals, metals, crystals have consciousness in them. What this means is that everything is a okay. So I just got mud on my feet. I feel like that's a part of, I can integrate that with the reading as well. The feet are ruled by Pisces, you know what I'm saying? And Gemini naturally squares the energy of Pisces, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Gemini naturally squares the energy of Pisces. Okay. Wonder if there's... Okay, yeah. This whole time I could have been walking on the cement, but I chose not to. Okay. So yeah, we'll get into the feet and how and why that's relevant to you. So the thing is, Pisces is the opposite sign to Virgo. Your rising sign is Virgo. You know what I'm saying? back to what I was saying though, because I think this is important. And I also say this: you have your sun in the ninth house. So this is why I'm talking all this philosophical things, because you and of yourself are a very philosophical person, and one of your life objectives is to learn to be like philosophical. You know what I'm saying? When I say philosophical, I mean like you're meant to learn as much as you possibly can about the spiritual world. You know, about the spiritual world, about philosophy, about religion, and about spirituality. And then you're meant not only to learn about these things, but you're meant to live these things. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things for you that's of great importance is that you have some sort of spiritual or religious belief that you practice and you stand by. The downfall of Gemini is a sign of logic and rationality, you know? So what this means and what happens here is that as a Gemini, you can fall short to, and especially Virgo rising, you can fall short to this energy of like, you know, this is a possibility that I feel like you've been saved by, because you have like your moon, your sun in the ninth house. Typically Geminis become overly scientific and overly logically based to the point where they can become atheistic, because they strive to resolve equations that cannot they strive to resolve equations through their physical senses.
Turn left toward Triumph Boulevard.
That take more than the physical perception. You know what I'm saying? Like, science has yet, even though they continuously search for evidence of God, concretely they say, quantum physics kind of shows that there is a God and this and the third. What I'm trying to say is reason and logic can only go so far. And once we reach a certain point,
turn right toward Triumph Boulevard.
We need to embrace intuition, you know what I'm saying? And I bring that up because you have your sun in a decan of intuition. So it is of importance that you in of yourself learn to follow your inner compass and trust that it'll lead you to your north star. You know what I'm saying? That's very important for you. Your moon is also in Aries.
Turn left toward Triumph Boulevard.
Aries is a sign that deals with independence and an individual beating to their own drum. So this just indicates that emotionally you are a person who listens more so to your own inclinations, and you'd rather do what you want to do. Also, Aries is it's a sign that deals with impulsiveness. So emotionally you can be an impulsive person, you know, and you could be a daredevil also, and you're not afraid of doing things by yourself. And typically what happens here is
turn right onto Triumph Boulevard.
People with moon in Aries, they find themselves isolated and alone, and they're kind of okay and comfortable with being alone. But the thing is, your highest purpose in this lifetime, like I in the beginning was talking about, is familial energies. You know what I'm saying? Creating emotional connections. You may be too much for some people. You know what I'm saying? They may say you're aggressive, maybe emotionally aggressive. For a woman, you could be a bit masculine also. But it's like I say all these things, but it's not completely 100% real true, because you have your moon in the 7th house, which is the house of relationships, others, and balance, you know what I'm saying, and things like that. So, yes, although it is fair to say that you can learn to be more inclusive and more compromising in relationships, it still doesn't sway from the reality that for you, relationships are something that you put a lot of energy into. And it's funny that I say that, because even when you came to me, you asked me about synastry readings and all of that good stuff. Now, the thing is, this is Aries in the 7th house. The 7th house is the house of relationships, partners, specifically personal relationships that can lead to intimacy and closeness, you know, and like emotional bonding and all that good stuff. But Aries is the sign of the I am. It is the sign of the individual. It is the sign of the ego. And it is also the first sign. So what this would mean for you is that, like, well, it's a couple things. Like, you also have Mars ruling over your 8th house, but you just have the moon in the 7th house in Aries. But what your Mars ruling your 8th house would be an indication of is that there have been a lot of there have been a lot of wounds that have been inflicted upon you that may feel related to family and domestic affairs. But it's like, when you closely look at it, the reality and the truth is, even though it's easier to be like, they did this to me, and be self-focused, you'll realize that actually I had a role, or I had a hand to play in those inflictions and the traumatization that took place upon me, you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't just... Oh, sorry, give me a sec. I'm like kind of walking where the cars are. This isn't just like your Mars, like, ruling over your 8th house, but your Mars is in Cancer as well, which just, and we'll talk more about this later, but it just indicates there's a lot of familial energies that you need to deal with. You know, a lot of healing emotionally and even sexually, you can even say, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, back to what I was saying previously though. Pretty much, with you having Cancer here, it's important that you learn to, like, put others before yourself and not be so selfishly orientated and not so focused on ambition and goals and like, what can I do to reach the top of the mountain in regards to the ego, you know? Like, a lot of us unknowingly try and serve the ego, and we justify it because we're like, well, I'm doing all these things for a good reason, so I can serve others, so I can be a greater beacon or a greater messenger for the truth. But it's like, we have our own awareness and understanding of what we think we are meant and supposed to do, but simultaneously there is a greater understanding that comes from higher sources and higher powers that kind of is like, it demands faith, you know? And it's somewhat of an unknown, because the known, we've already been there and done that, but our capacity and our potential is like those areas that we're still unfamiliar, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes, in order for us to evolve and fulfill our purpose, we kind of have to surrender the desire for control, if that makes sense. Yeah, we kind of have to surrender like the desire for control, you know? And it's like there may be, okay, so let me also share this with you. When it comes to maybe if I can go this way, I think I can. Let me see, because this would be a quieter path. So okay, as I was previously saying, when it comes to our paths, and if you've been paying close attention, you'll recognize and realize that there is a divine intelligence, you know, that guides you on your path and on your journey. And certain things have happened, you know, like one of my favorite, alright, I shouldn't go this way. Like one of my favorite sayings is sometimes, I'll give an example, rejection is God's protection, you know? Like there may be something that you wanted, whether it be a job, a relationship, or whatever, but then you get rejected, and it's like your ego,
turn right onto
your
North
ego
2300 West Triumph Boulevard.
So you may have a hard time rationalizing why you can't have it, but the truth is there are certain forces and beings that have a greater awareness than you do. You know what I'm saying? And that's where faith comes into play. That's like, faith is very important. And it's like the more you can develop your intuition, which is definitely something you need to learn and cultivate and develop and listen to, the more like your life will kind of just open up for you and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now, you have your sun in the 9th house. Let's kind of talk about what the 9th house is and what it means and what it represents. So, the 9th house is a house of sheesh, it's so wet over here. It's a house of like, I think I already talked about this earlier. The house of philosophy, you know, like spirituality, metaphysics, and all that good stuff. And so, okay, I shouldn't walk over here. It's too wet. I'm gonna go back. Nope. So, hold on. I think I should start bringing 2 shoes with me. For sure. So, yeah, it just rained last night. So, like, everything is pretty wet. So I will tell you this though, your path
Turn right onto Utah 194.
most definitely does involve like truth and like the distribution of truth and helping others reach higher knowledge and awareness. But it's like you're gonna have to not just teach it, but live it, be it, you know, because the sun is like the ego, the identity, the individual. So it's like study is of importance, books are of importance, you know, but I think it's important that I also mention Gemini is depicted with like having a capacity, you know, having a capacity to have access to both worlds, you know what I'm saying? So what that means for you is not just logic and rationality, but also learning to go within and access things like, you know, the Akashic records and that inner knowing and inner awareness. This makes sense. For sure. So, yes. Also, I think I should say, give me a sec. Heck yeah. Yeah. I think I said what I needed to say about that. Another thing is the development of your mind and the development of your intellect, you know. It's important that you spend time developing your mind and developing the power of your thoughts, you know, and leveraging the ability of thinking positively and constructively. I would recommend getting into Abraham Hicks' work, Joe Dispenza, you know, and also Bob Proctor. I think his work is great too, in regards to mental energies and mental things, you know. Now, Sun and Gemini in the 9th house, I'll give examples of like career paths, you know. On more superficial things, these are people that can become like travel agents, you know, or like anything that deals with long journeys or leaving the home and going into other lands. But it's interesting because the 9th house not only embraces and deals with physical long journeys, it also deals with mental and spiritual long journeys. So it's like however you may be able to, it's important that you embrace and like get on a long journey. You know what I'm saying? And this doesn't always have to be physical. Most times this is like a spiritual long journey where like spiritually you just may be aware that there are forces that are on your pilgrimage as a soul, and they're helping and they're guiding and they're assisting you in kind of being open to it and allowing it, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like faith is very important for you on your journey, for sure. And it's like the more you can be faithful, the more you will align with your purpose. Because like your North Node is in Cancer, so this is an indication that you're in this life to also learn to embrace your emotions and trust your feelings and your emotions, you know, which are inner energies and inner forces. But I think I already talked about that earlier when I because one thing about this placement for sure that's of importance is you understand you're meant to, hold on, give me a sec. In this life, you're meant to, dang. in this life you're meant to, like, connect with your inner compass as much as possible. Yeah, connect with your inner compass as much as possible. So doing things like meditating, learn to silence your mind, the monkey brain as it's called, right? So then like that inner voice can come out. These are all things that are of essential. And your life purpose is definitely aligned with service. Service of a practical kind. Service that deals with precise analysis. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like precision is something that's of importance. So I don't know what that may mean for you specifically. But looking at your chart, I would say learning to tune in, and because the sun in the 9th house within the decan of intuition and the sign of Gemini, it's definitely about learning from other people's philosophies and religions and beliefs. The highest exaltation is learning to create your own, you know? So yeah, for sure. Definitely don't want to disregard that. But like, yeah, pretty much that's your sun in Gemini, which is an energy that reflects you have great capacity and communication. You have great mental abilities and capacities that you shouldn't waste. And you should learn to develop your mind in all of the ways out there that's possible. You know, Joe Dispenza talks about brain envy, like kind of looking at other people's brains and how they function and being envious and be like, I want to be like that. Like, I want to have a brain that functions like that. And I feel like that's most definitely of importance. But you shouldn't strive to develop your brain for the sake of like intelligence, you know what I'm saying? And practical, resolving practical problems and issues, but more so designed to develop your brain so that you can tackle higher, like bigger problems and bigger issues that deal with like spirit, God, and things like that. You know, like you should look beyond your immediate environment and strive to connect with higher forces and higher powers, if that makes sense. And, you know, in conjunction with your North Node in Cancer, it's of importance that you learn, to connect with, like, your spiritual community, you know, like Moon and Aries can feel very alone in this world. And I feel like when you have a sun in the 9th house, this can also be a pathway for loneliness and isolation, because one thing you highly prioritize is like philosophy and spirituality and beliefs and a higher force and a higher power. But we live in a world where like all of that is distorted, you know? So you'll definitely need to connect with like your spiritual soul fam, you know what I'm saying? And learn to gain support from those higher forces and higher planes, you know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, pretty much with you having your moon in Aries, it's important that you understand and you realize that one thing that you strive for and you could truly desire is partnerships and relationships. But the case may be that you may put more effort and more energy into others than you do yourself. And what I mean by this is there may be a desire to want to blame others, you know what I'm saying? And being like, well, this person is this way, and that's why I'm that way. And this other person did me like this, and so I'm in this situation now. But like I said earlier, you know, if you look closer, you'll realize that there is a lot of things you can do as well to work on yourself and gain greater internal balance that will help you in gaining access to greater experiences in relationships. But relationships are definitely one thing that's of value and of importance to you. Simultaneously, that you've had a great like trial and strife and like struggle in. It's something that there's a lot of challenges there, a lot of obstacles there, and a lot of it has to deal with the energy of compromise and like the willingness to, in a way, put yourself after and not before. You know, just pretty much realizing the significance of valuing relationships over independence. You may be more so of an independent person, and like you may have had a lot of experiences. You have had a lot of experiences in the past that may justify your independent energy, but it's like it's a contradicting energy, because there's a desire to be in a relationship, but simultaneously a hindrance from embracing relationships because like the experiences you previously had in relationships, if that makes sense. Okay. But amongst all things, I think it's important for you to understand the significance of the Mercury energy in your chart. You know what I'm saying? Because Mercury is your chart ruler, and you also have your Sun in Gemini. So these are all Mercurial energies. Mercury is the planet that deals with logic, rationality. It deals with the mind. It deals with thinking processes. So one thing that you can definitely work a lot upon is your way of thinking and your mindset and your mind frame. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the more you can improve that, the more your life itself will start to improve for you. Yeah. And most definitely it's important that you continue doing that with the awareness that as you build higher ways of thinking, you're also building a ladder to heaven. You know what I'm saying? Okay, for sure. Now, what else can I talk about that I haven't talked about? So in a nutshell, in this lifetime, you're here to embrace communication with others, but you're here to learn how to communicate higher ways of thinking and higher ways of being. You know what I'm saying? And you're definitely meant to embrace some sort of philosophy, some sort of spirituality. And you're not just meant to embrace it superficially, but you're meant to practice what you preach. You know what I'm saying? Definitely that energy. Like earlier, I didn't get done talking about the careers that align with this placement, but one of the careers that align with this placement is the energies of, hold on, what was I saying? Right, okay. The energies of like preaching and teaching. So you're meant to be a teacher, and you're meant to let life teach you. You know what I'm saying? You're not just meant to read from books, but you're meant to experience things. And through your experiences of these things, there will be a becoming. And that being that you become is like what you're meant to teach others how to become as well. Right? Because, the sun is like, as I said previous, to the individual, the identity and things like that. So yeah. Okay. For sure. Hold on, I'm trying to think of other things I could say too. Talked about relationships. We talked about the significance of Mercury in your chart. We talked about your Virgo rising, which I can talk a bit more about. So it's great that you have Virgo as your rising sign, because Gemini is pretty abstract, It's curious, spontaneous, and it lacks structure, practicality, and order. But your Virgo rising helps by giving you like this groundedness and this ability to be more practical with your thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Definitely hope that makes sense. In the sense that typically Geminis, they can find themselves, up and lost in the clouds. But Virgo is the factor that helps ground them back to earth, ground them back to reality and practicality. So you have both the ability to think abstractly, but also the ability to put work and labor behind your way of thinking. But overall, these are energies that deal with thoughts and thinking, you know what I'm saying? But Virgo just deals with grounding thought and grounding thinking. Like taking something from the spiritual plane, the mental plane, the spiritual and mental plane, and like grounding it into the physical, Whereas Gemini deals with contacting things in the spiritual and things in the mental plane. So, with you having your sun in Gemini in the 9th house, it's an indication that you are a messenger for like higher beings. And then with you having Virgo rising, it's an indication that you're meant to take these, once you establish communication with these higher forces and higher beings through your becoming, the being that you become, then you're meant to start laboring and working in the physical world to apply this knowledge and information. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, for sure. Okay. Now, Moon and Aries energy can be a sign of great, like, power and passion. You know what I'm saying? So with you having your Moon in Aries, it's like you have a great reserve of energy that you can use. And this energy can play out as restlessness as well, especially emotionally. It can play out as, it's a very masculine energy, but it's important that you find a way to channel it. And I'll also say this, in relationships, because you have your Moon in the 7th house, it's important that it's the relationship, that is, it's important that the relationship is supporting your, yes. The relationship is supporting your like purpose, you know? So you shouldn't really get into relationships. And the best way I can put it is where God is not involved. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to be in a relationship where it's like it's you, the person, and God is also in the mix. And there is an awareness that you're on a mission, you know, your partner, that is, and your partner having the ability to contribute to your mission. But yeah. So the highest exaltation of, like, looking at the three placements of your sun, your moon, your ascendant, and your north node, it's like the highest exaltation is building a family where the center is the striving towards a higher purpose together, and it being played out through some sort of practical, like, service to the world that's also tangible and can be physically held, you know? Like, yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's not so much charity, but it's like a service where you're also being rewarded for your endeavors. But your aspiration and your motivation shouldn't per se be, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that so then I can be rewarded. But instead it should be, hold on, give me a sec. But instead it should be, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm servicing and I'm being of, I'm laboring and I'm being of service because I know it's the highest thing and the right thing for me to do. It's like humanitarian energies. And then in doing so, you start gaining like recognition, and you gain a assistance from a higher being. You know what I'm saying? Like, spirituality is very important. Religion is very important. Cultivating your belief systems are very important. But that's definitely a purpose for you in this lifetime. Learning to cultivate purpose, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, learn to cultivate a belief system that works for you. But yeah, I would say pretty much that would conclude our session and our first reading together. Yeah, I am definitely on standby for that phone call where I'll definitely answer more questions, give you more clarification.
Turn left onto North 3600
But
West.
other than that, I hope you have a beautiful day, night, whenever this catches you. All right, peace.